Hello, folks. Have you ever heard this statement before that we should never talk about politics and religion, perhaps especially at work? Well, today we're going to talk about politics. And perhaps that uneasiness feeling that you're gathering right now, that level of concern, like what is going to come out of his mouth. This is the exact reason why we need to have this level of conversation, folks. We, the collective, should be able to talk about anything if we root it in the right proper skills, tonality, and consistency in our language. Let's have a collaborative conversation in a political divisive world. So when we look through the lens of understanding political divisiveness, it is significant difference of political opinions and beliefs and values among individuals or groups that often lead to conflict and disagreements. So folks, conflict can be positive. It doesn't have to be negative. I've learned that if you're going to stand up for yourself, challenge the status quo, improve things, make things better, well, conflict is inevitable, but it doesn't have to be negative. Let's look at some of the characteristics of political divisiveness. It creates what we call polarization, us versus them. Author Ray Diallo, who wrote the book Principles, says that human beings, you and I, struggle, perhaps even suffer in two areas. Those two areas are blind spots, also known as scotomas, or just our egos. Now, for those of you who said, Richard, I don't have an ego, that's your ego talking. Too much of an ego, I may come off as aggressive, perhaps even cocky. Not enough ego, I may come off as submissive, discounting myself or even others. Let's look at emotional intensity, making rational decisions difficult. When we are emotionally charged, and we have every right to be that way, what might be the impact on you, the other person, party, or group? When you are emotionally in charge, are you aware that even some of the things that you're saying in your truth could easily offend the other person, party, or group? But it's your belief. How could this be so? We have identity politics. Disagreement feels like a personal attack. Why are you attacking me? Why are you hurting me? Why would you say such a thing? And folks, this is political divisiveness, the things that is happening to you and I, in our families, in our community, around the country. And we, in the collective, in this perspective, is allowing it. We have echo chambers, information that reinforces existing beliefs. Research suggests that we prefer people who look like us, sound like us, and share our same interests. So when I speak within my group of people in this example, they reconfirm my existing beliefs. We call that confirmation bias, just for clarity. And when I hear from someone else, are you serious? Are they crazy? I can't believe this. Does that sound familiar to any of us? Then we have misinformation, folks. Interesting. I purposely watch CNN and I purposely watch Fox. This is my observation. When I watch CNN, usually they have nothing positive to say about Republicans. Equally, when I'm watching Fox, they don't have anything positive to say about Democrats. Now, if I, Richard, listen to one or the other or variations thereof, perhaps what might my mindset be? Negative, perhaps? In addition to that, folks, I did some additional research on political ideology. Would you believe there are over 30,000 words in which politicians use to describe one another, and they are negative in nature? That get pushed out to media and social media, and we, you, I, adopt that verbiage, and that becomes our truth. But I'm going to ask you to do an assessment respectfully. I'm encouraging you to assess your experiences. What are your experiences like? So when I travel throughout this country, and that's what I do professionally, I'm able to interact, coexist, collaborate with almost anyone, regardless of our differences. However, when I tune into media and social media, we're on the verge of a civil war. It's us against them. We're fighting. It's divisiveness. I'm asking you, assess your experiences. Do they line up with what you're hearing? I don't know what your experiences are. You tell me. In addition, it creates decreased cooperation, difficulty working together towards a common goal. Now, I've been in corporate America 30 years and started my own practice. And the way that organizations are structured, folks, we are interdependent on one another. Department A needs Department C, etc. If one of those departments collapse, I will assure you the business will fail over a period of time. So think about what that does to you and your organization. How about social fragmentation, weakening cohesiveness? Now, this is culture, our beliefs. Again, this creates this internal bias. Research suggests that we prefer people who look like us, sound like us, and share our same interests. And because of that, that reconfirms my belief system and somehow disconnects me from others. And I say things like, what is wrong with those people? What are they thinking? And it fragmentates our belief system, folks. How about policy gridlock? Unable to get things done. That is not okay, folks, for the collective. How about this one? Personal relationships. I was facilitating a talk a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about this gridlock that I'm sharing with you today. And this one lady pulled me to the side and she said, Richard, I just don't know what else to do about this politics and this division. She tells me that my husband has a different belief system than I do. And we argue about it. We fight about it. And we're able to get along. But then at times we go to my in-laws' house. And they have discounted me, made me feel so small that I don't feel welcome in the home anymore. And it has created an issue, a challenge with my husband. I have friends, close friends of mine, who have dysfunctional relationships with their significant other or with their parents. One of my friends said, Richard, I don't recognize my parents anymore. I can't believe they raised me based on the difference of politics. Now, your situation may not be that severe, but I'm going to ask you, have you sacrificed relationships because of difference of political views? Is it really that important to destroy something that is really important to you, a loved one, someone that you care about? Now, it's easy to discard them. Well, I just don't care about you. I don't have to have this person in my relationship. And I say this respectfully, folk, that's quitting on something that's really important and perhaps valuable to you, someone that you care about. So I have a collective goal for this particular group. And that goal is to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And that brings me to this construct called the growth mindset. Now, the growth mindset is looking at situations, especially difficult situations, as an opportunity to learn, grow, and change for the better. Focusing your attention on improving yourself instead of changing or blaming anyone else. Now, that concept perhaps sounds pretty simple. Most people don't mind learning or even growing. But did you say change? Really? Since I was a kid, I've been told that people do not like change. And we adopt that concept and we don't like change. Folks, change is going to happen respectfully with or without our consent. Change is an opportunity to be involved in the change, to be an early adapter of that change if we choose. We don't have to. But that's the growth mindset. It forces me to look inward and say, Richard, what can I do? What can I change? What can you change? Perhaps your perspective. There's a concept that's called perspective taking. And in perspective taking, it allows me to give myself an opportunity to actually see things from your perspective. Why might I not do that? Remember those blind spots and egos? That gets in the way. That's a missed opportunity, folks. Are you willing to be comfortable being uncomfortable as I continue? Let's continue. Let's talk about how do we foster respectful communication. There are 5 dominant forms of communications. They are aggressive, passive aggressive, manipulative, submissive, and assertive. And there is a place and time for every one of those communication styles, by all means. But perhaps as your speaker, what if I was aggressive right now? How might that make you feel, you think? Threatened, concerned, evasive. So it may not be appropriate. So I'm asking us, as we begin to communicate in whatever style that we choose, think about impact. IMPACT. What might be the impact on the other person, party, or group? If that impact is negative, I'm going to encourage you to give yourself what I call a checkup from the neck up. Here lies the opportunity, folks. What impact am I having on the other person, party, or group? It's okay if it's constructive. It's okay if there's some conflict. But if it's negative, the area of growth of opportunity, folks, is within me. How about active listening? Stevie Covey says that most people listen to reply versus listening to understand. What might be the difference? So if you engage with your conversation partner, while that person is talking, you are formulating your response while they are talking. That's listening to reply. It creates a disconnect. You may not hear everything in which they're communicating. And some of us are so good at this, while the other person is talking, we overtalk them because we don't want to forget what we're saying, or what we're saying is more important than what they have to say. Listening to understand, folks, is listening for feelings, for thoughts, their perspective, their viewpoints. It's showing empathy. It's having patience. It's understanding and meeting them where they are without conditions. That's called active listening, and we can literally train our brains to be active listeners. How about encouraging critical conversations, folks? Now, this is also in a skill called emotional intelligence, also known as self-awareness. Self-awareness is understanding your mood, your actions, as well as their impact on other people. And that impact, just for clarity, should be positive. We have building inclusive communities. How might we do this, folks? This is social awareness. Social awareness is understanding the emotional makeup of other people, treating people according to their emotional reactions while showing empathy. And just for clarity, empathy just says, I care about you. Is that so difficult? Why do we make that so hard? And when we remove empathy and say, hey, I don't care about you, this is not important, it actually causes a negative reaction because the other person, party, or group want to feel valued, respected, and appreciated like most. How about finding a common ground, folks? This is collaboration, building rapport, listening to understand, validating the folks' concerns. It could be that simplistic or that difficult. And I know that this conversation perhaps is making folks a little uneasy, but I'm willing to take that chance for the right reasons, to help and support one another positively and constructively, even in our differences. Folks, I'm encouraging you to be subjective. I'm encouraging you to be objective. But most importantly, be about the collective. My name is Richard Marks, encouraging you to expect great things to happen. Thank you. Thank you.